How's everybody doing? Just doing a sound check, making sure we're good. It's been a while. Hope everybody's doing well. Happy Friday. Uh, Very happy to talk to you about a few things, a couple of major things. Uh, I am sorry about the delay in starting this several times. I wanted to see the how the core inflation came out, and the report has been released, and that report is as follows: We are at 3% CPI, core inflation, a very important metric for the month of September. All right, because of the shutdown, there probably won't be any October data. So this is going to be the last report we get for some time. So we're about 0.1% lower than expectations. So we're doing well. I'm very happy with everything. Once again, President Trump has proven correct. His plan is proven correct. Everything he's trying to do is proven correct. We are growing our economy, growing our GDP, and we are also staving off inflation. All right, so this is exactly the sweet spot that we want to be in, if you will. All right, so lots to talk about today. I'll see how long I can go. I do got to get to work eventually. I am in the truck waiting for people, so we'll see what happens. But uh, I've got to just wrap all this in quickly, guys, and we can open up the conversation. I do think it's really, really important that you look at how President Trump is using economic levers to help him end wars. I've got to get some stuff up in the nest too. I want you to bookmark. This morning, President Trump thinks the stock market is a direct reflection of the tariffs. I do agree with that. The tariff debate, we've had ad nauseum for 8 or 9 months right now. And I think the one thing people need to recognize is that they're not going anywhere, regardless of whatever good trade deal a country or an entity gets with the United States, because I really think President Trump's sweet spot is 15, 16%. He kind of wants a broad tariff across the board, but he made a few comments in his some of the media he's done this week at the White House. He is going to Asia. I believe he leaves today. I think he's Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, I believe is the itinerary. But he's brought it up twice. Once when he was talking about the crime roundtable he had yesterday with the Attorney General and with Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and everybody else. The other, just in general conversation on Wednesday, I believe, and he said without the tariffs that he has imposed since he's been in office, the United States would not be where it is right now. And I think he's 100% correct. Those tariffs, guys, we could talk about the merits of them all day long. We could talk about how people believe that they are inflationary, that they're a regressive tax on the citizenry. I've never agreed with that. We don't have to talk about that today because I always go back to that. It's kind of like a comfort mechanism for me, a coping mechanism. Talk about how tariffs are not a regressive tax on the citizenry. And I think I proved it through many, many conversations. But he's using them to end wars, guys. So they have a geopolitical strategic element to them. And I do believe that there's not enough people that have an understanding of that. It's been my opinion for this entire administration is people just aren't seeing the big picture. And this is why I wanted to wait for the core inflation, not for numbers to come out for September, and we've exceeded expectations, guys. There is, gas is, I think, around 270 a gallon where I am, guys. Energy is low. All right, we have two particular items. One is beef. We could talk about that. The other, of course, is interest rates, the housing market. But that's it. And those are not small. I'm not minimizing that. But that's it, guys. That's it. There are no chinks in this economic armor in this plan that Trump has rolled out. Zero. I mean, there's land grants opening all over the United States now for the pursuit of rare earth materials, for the pursuit of crude oil, contracts to frack offshore. I'm not really seeing a lot of the doom and gloom that was expected by many a person on this app and in mainstream media. It's quite stunning that people who make a lot of money are not well versed in the economy. So that's, we've established that. So that's on the table. Another thing that is on the table, as recently as last night, you've seen uh, the stopping of trade talks with Canada. We can get into that if you want. That's still kind of developing. My take is it's irrelevant. Those talks were going nowhere. Uh, Trump is running out the clock on North America until the expiration of the main components of the USMCA, guys. There's no impetus for him to make a deal. Other countries like we got to make a deal, we got to make a deal, we got to make a deal. Well, but Trump is so in the driver's seat right now, guys. Globally, he's not only redrawing the in terms of war, right? The geopolitical landscape globally. He's also redrawing the economics of the globe right now. And he summarizes it. Look, I like all, the usual. He builds people up and breaks them down, or builds countries up or leaders and breaks them down. I like these prime minister. I do. I really like them. They're good people. But, I don't need to make a deal with them because I am, and this is very important. I'm like, he goes, consider me a shopkeeper. And what I have in the United States is a giant retail store that's the world's oyster. And then he goes, yeah, if we make a deal with Mexico, if we make a deal with India, if we make a deal with Canada, that's great, but it's not essential. And he's proving it, guys. Our number one trading partner is not relevant in bilateral trade with the United States. Irrelevant. We've come a long way since February when, I was told that Canada was going to cut off our crude oil supply and Ontario was going to shut off the energy grid, the electric grid to the Great Lakes region and New York City. And they had all this power, and that like you had people telling me that Trump's a warmonger. He needs oil because of his military is a energy pig, and he can't live without our oil. Well, that was February. That was the Great Four Nations hockey tournament debate. And man, we're about 60% of the populace wrong on that. Guys, you have to look at what the Department of the Interior, you have to look at what the EPA is doing. Lee Zeldin, his office is nothing but a wall of paper shredders. He's shredding every bureaucratic regulation that stagnated the proliferation of U.S. energy production, not just during the Biden years, guys, but also Obama, going back many, many years that have just been sitting on the books. Yes, we're only getting about 180,000 barrels of crude oil a day. The volume is not the point, guys. The reason we're doing that offshore drilling in the Gulf of America is not to replace or substitute for lack of foreign import of oil. It's that we start doing things domestically at a reasonable clip. All right? There's merit in all of this. Alaska and the Gulf of America are not going to replace foreign imports on crude oil. But that's not necessarily the point, and I think that's what people are missing. We are monetizing the balance sheet of the United States using every untapped resource at our fingertips. So we're not reliant on foreign import, friend and foe alike. Do you guys understand? Please understand, because this is important. This is exactly how I kind of thought this administration would go. All right, let me get some stuff up in the nest while I'm wrapping up the intro here, and then we'll talk. And guys, I am going to be, and Janet, thank you for co-hosting. Good morning. I am going to be uh, a dick on keeping people on subject matter. No rants, no sidebar conversations. I'm giving you guys a lot of appetizers here, if you will. There's no need for uh, residual conversation that's not relevant. This should be the most important thing of the day. What I'm putting up here. This is the news of the day. I do believe, in no particular order. I'm going to start putting that up in the nest. So there's the first thing I'm putting up from Stock Bomb is September U.S. CPI 3% versus expectations of 3.1%. And there you have a chart with the raw data in there. You guys could take a look at that. So yes, once again, no core inflation, a very important metric that you should look at every month. Reminder, in November, we're not going to have October data because of the shutdown. They might, if memory serves, they're not going to publish any data because they don't have enough to pull from. So take a peek at that, if you will. That's significant, guys. Next up, I briefly touched on the fact that Trump's using the economy to leverage himself in ending wars, things like that, dealing with other countries. You see Venezuelan president, this is from election wizard Nicolas Maduro, has called for peace and pleaded against a crazy war as an escalating U.S. military campaign continues. Guys, there's no escalation. President Trump was really, really clear. You are a narco terrorist trying to smuggle drugs into the southeastern part of the United States. You will be incinerated by the United States military. There's no escalation. We've set the standards, and it's up to Venezuela if they want to comply. Let me tell you guys, Maduro is eliminating his competition. Those are suicide boats. They're not. This is what's laughable about libertarians and Democrats who think we don't. Rand Paul making an ass of himself every day, thinking that this is some sort of prelude to a war with Latin America. You know, Venezuela and Colombia. There's no prelude to anything, guys. Those boats are not going to be allowed in the United States anymore. Maduro himself is a narco terrorist. He's eliminating his competition, whether it's Tren de Aragua or some other entity, some other cartel. That's why he's not saying anything. He's just begging that Trump doesn't engineer some sort of regime change in Caracas. That still might be on tap. I don't know. Well, time will tell. I just think organically at some point we've got to see the end of the Maduro regime because they are propping up a lot of bad actors in the world. All right. So the other big story is, or not big story. So this is per Reuters. This just goes back. I want you guys to look into this. The Trump administration has opened the entire coastal plain of the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge to oil and gas leasing per Reuters. That's significant, without a doubt. President Trump on rapid response today. Next post up there, United States is wealthy, powerful, and nationally secure again, all because of tariffs. The most important case ever is in the United States Supreme Court. God bless America. Developing, okay? This was the one that caught a lot of news last night. I will read this and then I promise I'll get to you guys. Ronald Reagan Foundation has just announced that Canada has fraudulently used an advertisement which is fake, featuring Ronald Reagan speaking negatively about tariffs. The ad was for $75,000. 75 million. They only did this to interfere with the decision of the U.S. Supreme Court and other courts. Tariffs are very important to the national security and economy of the USA. Based on this egregious behavior, all trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay. There's one other post he put out. This is kind of a big thing. Ford and General Motors up big on tariffs placed on big and mid-sized trucks coming from other countries. Thank you, President Trump. That's basically Canada. Then last thing I'm going to put up in the nest, and I would ask you not to put anything in the nest. This is more than enough information. Again, this is this morning, kind of a follow-up to last night. Canada cheated and got caught. They fraudulently took a big buy ad saying that Ronald Reagan did not like tariffs when actually he loved tariffs for our country and its national security. Canada is trying to illegally influence the United States Supreme Court in one of the most important rulings in the history of our country. Canada has long cheated on tariffs, charging our farmers as much as 400%. Now they and other countries can't take advantage of the United States any longer. Thank you to the Ronald Reagan Foundation for exposing this fraud. Make America great again. Okay, quick dissertation on that. So the Ronald Reagan Foundation, like all former presidents, is basically his presidential library and the committee that oversees his legacy. Okay, just like the Bill Clinton Foundation is not allowing, Republicans to use commercials about him having an affair with Monica Lewinsky in any of their campaigning, etc. So they have like the integrity and the spoken words of former presidents under lock and key. That's the Ronald Reagan Foundation. So that was a doctored audio clip of Reagan in 1987 saying he was against tariffs. Now, full disclosure, President Trump is being super nice to Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was not a populist when it came to the economy. He was a populist when it came to American exceptionalism. He did not like tariffs. And he had the poison in his ear of the OG globalist George H.W. Bush, his vice president. So no, Reagan was not a tariff guy. I think he was indifferent to tariffs. Remember, there was a stock market crash in 1987. And that's when you kind of saw the tentacles of George Bush Sr. taking over the Oval Office. And I think that's when Reagan started to get his cognitive decline that they hid from us for probably the last 2 years of his presidency. Not as bad as Biden, but he was failing. Anyway, so that's the story, guys. That's where we're at. And this goes back to, just to wrap up on the Canada thing, is that President Trump does not need to make a deal. There is no pressure. He's going to run out the clock until the USMCA expires and then expect some sort of modification. We're taking in $300 billion in tariffs. I don't know how much better he can do than that. And the idea was not to have a more advantageous trade pact with our North American neighbors here. If a great deal dropped in our lap, rest assured we would make that happen. But we're getting tariff revenue that's expected. We are becoming more domestically self-sufficient with oil, mineral, and other commodities. We're slashing EPA regulations so private industry can make moves in our country. The stock market, guys, is very strong. S&P 500, all of them across the board, the Mag 7 tech stocks, etc. Everything is strong. Gold and silver are strong. People are making investments into the United States. The capital is somewhere near $20 trillion. Okay, so I would like you all to understand the significance of this, okay? All right, let me leave it there, get some of you to talk. Please, I would ask you, I know it's early where many of you are, if you would like to say something, now is the time, because I don't know how much time I have. All right, so let's start with, let's see. Janet, do you have anything to say before we go to the hands or no?
Yes, I was just going to say I added two things to the nest. I mean, not the nest, but the bubble. Both of them are about tariffs that Trump has used to help benefit the WIC program and things like that information. So if you're interested, just go to the bubble.
Thank you. And there's also just one last statistic. The betting market calls you there's a 96% chance of another rate cut in November by the Fed. So they're seeing that the too late Federal Reserve is seeing, they're digging what they're seeing in the projections of our economy for the balance of Q4. So this is good. It's too late and it's too slow, but if we get another rate cut before Christmas, or before Thanksgiving, we're doing great, guys. We're doing great. I would say Trump is getting 85 to 90% of his objectives done. All right, Gunny, you had your hand up. Ladies first, then we'll go to you, then we'll go to Bob. Okay.
Okay, just real quick. The the numbers for unemployment are different by like a couple 100,000 from the total number of available jobs. So when all the people are screaming about the EBT and this, that, and the other, and Trump's economy not working, please, if every person that doesn't have a job went out and got a job, because there's so many freaking jobs right now, we wouldn't be having any problems or conversations. We wouldn't need an EBT program. So that's just my opinion on the matter. I'm not sure on the exact numbers, if it's higher or lower either way, but they're both in the same millions. I want to say it's like 2 million or something like that. Both of them are. They're just separated by a couple 100,000.
Thanks, Gunny. And I do think the shutdown's going to end sometime around Halloween. I think that the Democrats have overplayed their hand, and they, we only need 5 Democrat senators to join on with the Republicans to pass the continuing resolution. So I think we have 3. We've got Angus King from Maine, Fetterman from Pennsylvania, and there's one other red state Democrat senator, I think, who has who's signed on. We just need a few more. So we'll see what happens. Bob, go ahead.
Oh, good morning, everyone. Well, Gads, all I can say in defense of Canada with regard to Trump canceling all the trade deals and that dumb ad that was put out, that was done by Premier Doug Ford of Ontario, which is kind of like punishing Canada or punishing the United States for something that Newscom did, right? So it wasn't an official federal government ad. This is from a premier of Ontario, does not represent all of Canada. And of course, that is the worst, woke province with, of course, Toronto and the GTA, with all of the terrible voters we have there and all the terrible policies that Doug Ford did, all the insults of why he's losing the auto industry. So it's pretty indefensible of that ad. I'm not trying to defend that. I'm just saying that this is, similar to a governor making a statement and the entire U.S. being punished for it. So I'll just land it there.
Yeah, thank you. Good clarification. So this did not come out of their federal office, guys. This came out of one of their big provinces, right? And the premier is like a governor. He's in charge of the territory or the province or whatever. And you're probably familiar with him. His name's Doug Ford. Nothing to do with Ford Motors or anything. Just Doug Ford, and he's that goof that goes on CNN and says Trump's a clown, and he's the guy. He's the genius that over the winter, when I think Trudeau was still there, was talking about how he has his finger on the button of the energy grid of parts of Michigan and parts of New York. And that, oh, well, we don't like the tariffs and blah, blah, blah. And so we'll just cut the power off to Manhattan. And how does Trump like that? And he's a guy who's been getting in verbal arguments with Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, another New Yorker. So this guy's not very bright. But he's been in office a while, I believe. I think he's kind of like a rhino here. So he's just an idiot. And they spent money on that ad, which was a fraud, and a doctored audio recording of President Reagan from almost 40 years ago. I mean, it's quite pathetic, guys, if you think about it. You could say, oh, it's just propaganda. No, it's stupidity. Propaganda works. Like Stalin's propaganda worked on the Soviet Union. Okay, Hitler's propaganda worked on Germany during the Weimar Republic, or the prelude to the Nazi Party coming to power. This isn't propaganda by Ontario, Canada. This is flat out stupidity. But again, this goes back to what I was telling you. President Trump does not need to make. This is crazy, guys. They're our number one trading partner, but here we are. That's how hot our economy is. He's indifferent to getting a better price on crude oil or hardwood from Canada. He's indifferent to the amount of money he collects, kind of, on the imports of trucks and autos from there. Same deal with Mexico. It's quite amazing, guys, if you think about it.
Well, that's why we call him Peter Griffin of the North, Gads. I titled Doug Ford that last year, and I stand by that statement. This is why. And you're right, he is a rhino. He's a complete liberal, Democrat type of person. I think he's actually gunning for, wants to be the prime minister someday. And one of the most corrupt, unethical, idiotic, stupid politicians I think Canada's ever had. And of course, the results just speak for themselves.
I tend to agree, buddy. Thank you. Gunny, we'll go back to you then, ML, okay? Guys, grab a mic. Come on. I might have time. Now's your chance, guys. Come on. Go ahead, Gunny.
No, I just want to say real quick, when you talk about shit coming out of Canada that doesn't go through the federal office, the prime minister is a 10-year veteran. He was the governor of the Bank of England. He was the governor of the Bank of England. Okay, so I don't know who in Canada elected this guy to do this job, but I've seen their country jump off a cliff. I've seen their people hungry. I've seen their jobs gone. I've seen them destroy everything while he's been in office. Way worse than Trudeau, because Trudeau was just an idiot. This guy is a severe calculated criminal, and he's going to drain Canada completely dry until it's nothing left but Chinese freaking mining. And that'll be it.
Well, Johnny, Mark Carney was behind the scenes with Trudeau, just so you know that. He was at least for we know for sure documented 5 years behind the scenes advising Trudeau of economic policy. So you can basically say the whole 10-year time that Trudeau was in power, it was Mark Carney behind the scenes, right?
I
Pulling
did
the
not know
strings.
that, but
Yeah.
that makes a lot of freaking sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's good clarification, Bob. Gunny used to live in a border state. She used to live in Michigan. So she know, and I live in a border state now. So we kind of, those of us that live in the north, we kind of I'm on the border of Quebec. Gunny was on the border of Ontario, kind of. So we kind of have a unique perspective. When you live in the Northeast and parts of the Midwest, you have a unique perspective. But that's the belly of the beast, where north of me and north of where Michelle used to live. So we kind of know a little bit because, just like if you're if you're in Kansas, you probably see 18 wheelers from Texas and Oklahoma on the regular. When when you live in Maine, you see 18 wheelers from New Brunswick every day. I see 18 wheelers from Quebec every day. If you're in Detroit, you see 18 wheelers from Ontario every day. So you get a sense of the bilateral trade that goes on and the volume of it when you're on the highways in a border state, etc. Do you know what I mean? If this is making sense. So we kind of I see just as many 18 wheelers from up north as I do domestic ones on a daily basis where I am, especially when I'm going up to Maine for work, which is frequently. So and that commerce, I will say, has stopped a bit. even in the summer. So things to pay attention to. ML, you had your hand up.
Thanks for inviting me in, Gads. I'm doing laundry right now. I don't have much to add other than Canada is good. Everything is good. I just got a couple things here. Canadians will self-destruct. This is a psychological question. Canadians will self-destruct the way New York City, I just saw the Poly Market, Gads, 90% chance of that Islamic communist. So I posed the question this morning. I didn't go in the punch bowl, but I wanted to pose this question. This is like economic and societal suicide. And so why do people commit this kind of suicide? And it's because, I don't know, it's a psychological question. They're angry about something. They're losers. They want to burn the place down, whatever it is. And I'm just going to quote, this is a typical thing. And I responded to this. Hold on a second. Someone with 10,000 followers on X here in Canada tweeted out, and he got a lot of likes. He said, well, it's good that these trade negotiations have broken down because it's Canada's chance to break free from the United States. So just, you just see all this stuff coming out of Canada, and it's like this stuff coming out of New York City. It's like, guys, I don't know, go ahead. Like, destroy your city, your country. Go ahead. You obviously want it, and you're going down the toilet, and you want to accelerate the flush. It's very interesting, Gads. I just, it's kind of fascinating. But you're right on with Trump's plan. It's proving out, and for two reasons. Remember, Powell kept saying, he wouldn't lower interest rates. Why? Right? He said, "Oh, the tariffs are going to cause inflation." Well, now you saw, we both saw this morning 3%, right? Which is a little higher than the 2 target, but it's lower than expectations, lower than Wall Street's expectations. So inflation is not a problem. So wow, he's doing all these tariffs and inflation's not going crazy. So that just disproves everything Powell was barking about, right? So that's good. And then the second measure on whether these tariffs are working is GDP. And you saw the numbers. I run some stats for you once in a while, buddy, right? And last week I ran what was the third quarter GDP change in US and Canada? And it was plus 3.9% in US, and it was plus 0.5% in Canada. So again, you see this divergence. The US, so you've got your GDP growth, and you've got your reasonable inflation, and you've got your tariffs. So it's like the perfect balance. Not perfect, but I mean, it's very good. It's working great. And just to contrast it, so I'll end with this, to bring a little global perspective. I hope this is not off topic for you, buddy. But so Mario retweeted out this morning some kind of economic disastrous news from Germany. And this points again to something that I'm going to summarize with here at the end. So in Mario's tweet, Germany in free fall, industry bleeds, jobs vanish, restaurants die. Basically, factories closing, firms fleeing, 270,000 manufacturing jobs gone in just the past year. While the government swelled its bureaucracy by 50,000 new jobs, 1.3 million private sector jobs have been erased, and on down the list. Basically, the economy is just falling apart. It's in a free fall in Germany. And what does it do to? They said the tariffs are minor effect. Like a 15% tariff on autos is not doing it to Germany. What's doing it to Germany are two things: labor cost and energy cost. And so again, Trump is on point with keeping energy costs low. You mentioned your gas prices, right, Gads? So the problem in Germany is not 15% tariff. It's that their energy is now 400% more expensive than America's. Why? Because 20 years ago, they started going down this green path and first they took out all the coal-powered plants. and then they went after the nukes and stupidly shut down all their nuclear plants. And now the energy prices are out of control, and the labor prices are out of control. So now the whole place is just crashing. And they said like a quarter of all restaurants and hospitality are in free fall right now, shutting down, bankruptcy, going out of business, layoffs. And then the industry, Volkswagen. I think there was other news that Volkswagen is in big trouble. They're 11 billion in debt, and they can't sell in China. And it's just, again, it's labor cost and energy cost. And they said they're going to have to massively restructure Volkswagen. There's a possibility they could claim bankruptcy. That's like GM to Germany. That's like the prime company. That's a bellwether for the whole country. So anyway, it's just
we
yeah,
haven't seen the bottom yet, ML. You got to the president said, I think last week, maybe early this week, that he thinks gas will go down to $2 a gallon.
Yeah.
In the United States. I mean, we're still not at the end of this rainbow, guys, in
Yeah.
terms of energy.
Yeah. So I'll just finish with this, and it's very good that the U.S. economy is doing well, because the woke mainstream media in Europe would otherwise just say, "Oh, Germany's problems, that's because the whole world is, going down," but it's not. So there you go. The U.S. is doing well. It says here that Volkswagen is 11 billion in the hole. Sales are collapsing in China. U.S. tariffs are biting. Germany's soaring energy and labor costs are looking fatal. They're looking at brutal cost cuts, asset sales, and a leadership shakeup and possible insolvency. So I'll just leave it at that. You're setting the standard. Keep going. Good job. Good job. High five for you guys. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, guys, the thing is I understand the beginning. You might have had some, you might have been a little bit, gun shy to give credit to what President Trump was trying to do. I think the problem is, guys, the United States typically has not used tariffs as a revenue generator, as a primary revenue generator, uh, basically since World War I. So the problem is there's nobody alive right now that can explain the effectiveness of them prior to the Federal Reserve and central banking taking over the global economic landscape in every country, not just here. But that is exactly what several presidents used in the late 1800s in the post. I mean, that's what got, Reconstruction, post Civil War era, and marrying the North to the South again after they had a toxic relationship called the Civil War in the 1860s. We had the factories and the rail and the industry up north. And guys, it's the reason why it became unnecessary to have slavery in the South, besides the fact of emancipation, and it just phased out, was that we were able to marry the crops in the South with the industry in the North and collecting tariff revenue from foreign nations. That was the start of it. Ulysses S. Grant in the 1870s, and then William McKinley, the godfather of the tariff, President McKinley in the 1890s. I mean, he was the tariff guy on steroids. So all this stuff is coming to a fever pitch right now in the 21st century. We're finding that balance between and proving it's not a regressive tax. Proving that's the biggest thing, that even especially libertarians, but many free market conservatives, or as I call them, fixed market globalists, believe that every single product that Walmart passes through its fingertips that is coming from China or coming from Bangladesh or India, that, oh, well, it's a 15% tariff on this sort of textile. Well, guess what? This $10 item just went up to $11.50. And that's not true, guys. It simply is not the case. People are lying to you about it, and they're not lying. Well, it's not good, but they're lying out of ignorance, because people on the right, including populists, libertarians, conservatives, they don't understand the economy. not in social media. We don't have economic people on social media. Okay, what we have on the right is a surplus of ex-military that do commentary, which is very, very useful for tactical explanations and talking about war. We have a lot of lawyers, especially since 2020. Being a conservative lawyer is a cottage industry in social media, with the election fraud and Trump's indictments, blah, blah, blah. But we don't have economic people. Guys, crypto guys are not economists. We don't have people like that. It's sad because really it's a missed opportunity for these people to give you an education that you probably didn't get growing up, especially if you're a younger person in the American public school system. I know I didn't get this in the 1980s when Reagan was president when I was in school. I had to learn this all on my own as an adult, in part for college, and then in my 20s when I was working in corporate America. Charts were part of my everyday life. My inbox was loaded with charts and data. I had to consume that information to make my company money. I don't do that anymore, but I did it until probably like 2013. So anyway, let me a couple more things in the nest here. I know it's a lot. I don't know if this is a troll account, but Can Zuck International. It's comedy anyway. They're saying Canada can no longer consider the U.S. as a close ally, a disappointing reality that must be acknowledged. But if Canada can pivot its foreign affairs priorities to Australia, New Zealand, and the UK, the opportunities are endless. I think that this is a troll account. If it's not, it should be. Take a look at that. Good meme there, Geiger Capital. No inflation. I gave you the CPI. We're under. You got a picture of Michael Douglas from Wall Street saying pump it. Then MSNBC or I think it's Squawk Box or whatever, their economics show. Almost unanimously, business reporters said tariffs were the end of the world, and here we are up 36%. So everybody's wrong about tariffs, basically. Everybody, particularly people on the right. They were all wrong about it too. And you know who they are, and they're still talking their same bullshit. We don't have any. Oh, all right. Gunny, go ahead. And then I'm going to give you guys a little rundown on why Trump's plan is not a regressive tax. And consumers do not eat tariffs. And I'm going to explain why. Go ahead, Gunny.
I forgot. I put my hand up again. Dang it.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, it's early. Trust me. Believe it or not, I'm only one cup of coffee deep. But that's going to change in a little bit. Just jump in, Gunny, because I'm just going to ramble for a minute here. Just jump in if it comes to top of mind here. So while I have a minute,
Oh,
you
I
guys.
remember.
Yeah, good.
Tariffs.
Yep.
Okay.
Shoot.
Congress is shut down, right? They shut down our fucking government. Congress can steal our tax dollars, quite literally, into their own pockets, which is how we know most of them raise their money that and through like shitty stock trades. But they can't steal tariffs. That stays with boss. Boss is like, oh, you need some SNAP? Okay, here, we'll take it out of this tariff. Oh, you need money? We'll take it out. I mean, literally, he could probably begin to run the government without the government. Crazy. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's a good point. So what Michelle's saying, guys, basically is we have a rainy day fund on a grand scale that could be over the next year up to $1 trillion. That's pretty good. So good point. And exactly, if it comes to it, he's going to use some of the tariff revenue to pay for food stamps and what have you. He got a check, I think, for $620 million to pay the military, to cover a few pay periods. You don't hear about this in the news, guys. So I've been carrying around. I read this to some of you. I'm sorry if it's repetitive, but I typed this out about a month ago for a space I was going to do. because it's just easier if I read it. I don't often like to read things to you, like, because it's very inauthentic conversation. But as far as if you're not understanding what's going on, the argument against Trump's tariffs is that uh, basically companies, because they do operate on thin margins, they can't absorb outrageous tariffs. And trust me, I mean, just talk to China about that, okay? Um, but a major criticism of tariffs in general is that they're a tax on consumers, because importers, they can't absorb these generally and make the required payment to the federal government, okay? So the additional cost, in theory, gets priced into the product. So the haters are going to say the tariffs are invisibly priced in goods, or basically a regressive form of taxation, is how they interpret it. Okay, which I completely disagree with, and I'm going to tell you why. Um, your lower income consumers, your poor Americans, guys, just because of the fact that they are poor and don't have a lot of cash flow, they spend less overall than most affluent consumers. So I just drew up this example. So if a lower income household spends $5,000 a year on goods affected by tariffs, what are the two main things every American needs? Clothing and food, right? And if there's the assumption that that 15% average tariff rate, it comes to fruition, um, it's funding $750 of tariff collections. So if a lower middle class family, guys, in Appalachia spends $5,000 a year on clothing and food, all right, it's going to be more. I know that. This is just an example, guys, with basic math. I know people spend more than that. We start with low numbers so everybody can understand. All right. Um, so if they're spending $5,000 a year on that stuff, if Trump is getting 15% average tariffs, it's adding $750 to their costs per year. Okay. A higher income household, millionaires, think Mormon families in Salt Lake City that have 9 kids, they spend $50,000 a year on goods affected by tariffs. So what's the basic math of it? That's $7,500 increase over and above the 50K they spend a year on clothing and food. So if Trump does this tariff rebate, which is why I'm not necessarily against it, that $1,000 that he's proposing would eliminate the $750 in possible inflation that a poor family spends on clothing and food. Okay, that's hard to follow in the morning. I have it. I could send you bullet points if you want to understand it better. So, if there is anybody affected by tariffs, guys, by Trump's tariffs, let me be specific, from all these foreign imports, it's not fucking poor people because they have less money. Think about it, guys. Let's take cars, okay? ML was talking about, I think, Audi or Volkswagen, or let's just say it's Audi. Does a poor person, guys, spend 50 grand on a used Audi 80 A6? Or just say an Audi 80 A6 is 50 grand. And Trump's tariffing Germany now that it's going to be 65 grand. I've got news for you guys. The poor person is not buying an Audi at 50 grand, nor are they buying it at 65 grand with Trump tariffs built in. So it's not relevant. It's not a relevant debate point to the concept of tariffs. So who's paying tariffs? If there are any uh, inflationary costs built in, rich people. All the people at the No Kings protest last weekend, these urbanite, wealthy white boomers who have a lot of money, they're the ones that are paying. Trust fund people, they're the ones that are paying because they consume more, they spend more. A rich person with a trust fund doesn't drive a shitbox Ford Focus being held together by duct tape. They drive not a Tesla anymore. They drive some sort of electric vehicle. Do you guys understand this? Tariffs don't hurt poor people because they don't have money in the first place. They're not big players in the consumer market. Also, a lot of poor people who live in the city, they take public transportation. They don't own a fucking car. So it doesn't matter if gas is $8 a gallon. They don't have car insurance, they don't have a car payment, and they sure as shit don't buy gas. So does anybody else want to try and convince me that tariffs are passed on to the consumer? Tariffs are relative to what you spend. If anything, what Trump is doing, guys, is almost a consumption tax or a national sales tax. I'll get into that another day, but that's essentially what is happening. Again, if our products are actually affected by tariffs, the jury is still out. Everybody's just speculating, and based on political bias, they're convincing themselves that tariffs are hurting them, with the exception of beef and real estate. And I'll get into that in a minute. Janet, go ahead. Sorry, I did not see your hand. Please
That's
go ahead.
okay. That's all right. Yeah, I just wanted to add that Trump is using tariff revenue to pay our troops, to pay for the WIC program and other little things for the people of the country. And someone, a very rich person, in his speech that he gave with his cabinet meeting, that someone gave $130 million to put towards paying our military. And they didn't want to be named. But the thing is, the Democrats hate the fact that Trump is able to help the people, and they're making sure that it's put out there, even though the news doesn't want to share it and they don't want to talk about it, because it's making them look worse and worse every day, that they care more about giving illegals medical care and food and a place to live than they do their own people. And then all these videos coming out about Portland and all the other cities about what's really like in those cities for the people that live there, it's helping Trump every day. So each day that we're on this shutdown is making Trump look even stronger and stronger about his point and how he's trying to recover our country through tariffs. I think it's made a huge change. And if people like you and I that actually work and pay our bills ourselves are seeing it, we're seeing what is actually happening and how little we need the government, really. And if we can just make it 61 days, we can get rid of all these people. We can clean house and not have to pay them back pay, because they're on their 60-day furlough right now, if we can make it that far. But remember this, they can't spend our tariff money on NGOs. So just remember that. And after Doge, we should all know what an NGO is. That's all I wanted to add. Thank you for letting me speak.
You're welcome. No worries. Thank you for that. One thing I think what people are having a hard time wrapping their head around, if their lack of understanding of Trump's economy, is that he's making an environment, guys, very, very similar to what Teddy Roosevelt tried to do in the early 1900s when he dragged the United States into the 20th century after what we called the Gilded Age, which was the post-Civil War area in the United States. All right, the industrial boom of the United States. Main Street and Wall Street benefited in the early 1900s. Guys, we became a global superpower in World War I. And why did we just, a ragtag group of National Guard units land in France in 1917 or 1918 and finish the job the British and the French could not do after 3 years? When the United States entered World War I, guys, they had been fighting as long as the Russians and Ukrainians have been fighting in very similar artillery-driven combat. And the casualties were really, really high. And MAGA, I'm going to get to you in a second. All right, and then we came in with less troops, even after all the casualties that the allies in Europe had suffered, because we were the only country that had any fucking money. After Europe and France had been bankrupting their treasury in a global conflict. Because President William McKinley, President Theodore Roosevelt were building our treasury up. Our private industry, we were making the weapons. We were making the ammo. We had steel and metals domestically made. And we had rail that we could transport stuff from California to Boston in the wink of an eye. These other countries didn't have that during World War I. They had it, but it all got destroyed or it needed to be rebuilt. So because of the actions of President McKinley in the 1890s and President Teddy Roosevelt in the early 1900s, we had the capability to enter World War I cold, okay? Without even a proper, I mean, many of you who don't live in the US, you can't imagine the United States not being a military superpower of the globe. Well, we were not in 1917. And we came there and we finished the job that the British and the French could not finish because they were fighting a very similar pointless war tactically that the Russians and the Ukrainians are fighting right now. It's just basically carnage. There is no objective. It's a stalemate after stalemate. We broke the stalemate with our tanks, our very cowboy-esque soldiers we had back then that had never been to Europe, never fought in a war, and our equipment and our supplies, and we had an abundance of everything. And when you haven't seen World War for 3 or 4 years like the British had, you come in there with a lot of bravado, right? So again, the idea of President Trump, the idea of Secretary of the Treasury Bessent is so that Main Street and Wall Street you can have a strong Wall Street, guys, and have a strong Main Street. It's in the 1980s, it was a strong Wall Street, which is what led to stagflation of the 1990s. Main Street was getting bled out. This is different, guys. This is not 1987. A lot of people are saying it's 1987. It's not. This is you want to know what this is, guys? It's 1898 is what we're living through. Maga, go ahead. Thanks for waiting.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Long-time listener. By day, I'm a financial advisor, and I just wanted to go over a quick report card on some of the things you highlighted. And when you compare it to prior years, it's so impressive what President Trump has accomplished in the first year of office. And I was taking notes just so I could be concise. But like tariff revenues, starting on that, the increase from 2024 is up 133.9%, is north of 350 billion. Previous record in 2022 was 108 billion. Think about the increase, more than double the amount of revenue is coming in from tariff. The miracle behind that is many in my business, in my sector, would say that, well, of course CPI is going to go up. Well, it turns out the PPI, which means that the producers are taking a brunt of the hit for us, has seen the increase, but CPI falling down to the average consumer hasn't. Comparing core CPI to September of 2024, excluding food and energy, it was at 3.3%. This year, September 2025, is at 3%. So somehow we've increased tariff revenue while lowering core CPI compared to 2024. That is insane. I don't even know how that's possible. Again, this is magician stuff, and it is amazing to see. Also, in 5 days, we're expecting Powell to lower interest rates, which will spawn on small business. As many of you know, when the Fed lowers their interest rates, it allows lending rates to small business to be more affordable, and that's why you'll see a blip in some of those Russell 2000 and smaller companies that will benefit from being able to borrow and run their companies at a lower cost than they are experiencing today. So I just wanted to highlight a lot of that. Think about all this that occurred alongside the control, getting illegal immigration under control. Energy sector jobs and tech jobs, we're going to see a boom in that simply because of the need for more energy due to the AI needs and all that it's going to be pulling and things like that. So as we talk about AI replacing jobs, AI is actually going to create jobs as well, because there's going to be a big need. Think about all the companies that are going to have to be involved and all the employees just to keep the energy at where it's going to need to be to get that sector moving forward. I love that all this is being accomplished alongside being able to decouple and just put a transparency on our dependence on many international countries, obviously including China, and really looking inward and saying, well, what kind of areas should we, rekindle in the United States, or at least if we were going to outsource it, maybe perhaps outsourcing it to our neighbor to the south, which, as I understand it, manufacturing down there today is a lot cheaper than even it is in China. So a lot of great things happening. I appreciate the time to speak and love the space. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it, Magga. Thanks for waiting. I didn't see your hand there for a second, but I think, and while you're still mic'd up, let me ask you, as somebody who works in the financial sector, and you could be honest here, do you think I've done a good job of explaining the difference between President Trump's economic populism, which conflicts with maybe conservative Republicans' typical view that free market capitalism is the way to go? There is a vast difference between those two. Do you think I've illustrated it, or am I using, or what do you
Yeah,
think?
no, I completely, remember, I think you did a great job explaining it. And I will say, look, President Trump is about fair market, right? Not free market. He's about fair market. And, honestly, our society as a whole for many years has been about fair market. And that's why you'll see the SEC and some in FINRA and some of the, regulating bodies increase or make new rules or do things to keep the consumer protected. And what I love about what he's doing is he's looking at it from a holistic standpoint. He's like, well, how do we keep our consumers and our economy thriving? What we need to do, and that's what tariffs are used for, to create fair market conditions. And you've done a great job explaining that for sure.
All right, thank you. Because sometimes people leave me a DM asking me to clear stuff up because I confuse them. So I don't want to do that, because I want people to learn about, such as I can explain it, to learn something. That's, uh, rather than this just be an opinion conversation. It's I don't come in here talking to you guys about crypto, guys, because I don't know anything about it. I try to explain stuff that I know about, and hopefully that's working. Before I go back to ML, I just want to say quickly, based on what Maga said, free market. If you're a free market purist, you are not going to be like Rand Paul. He's a free market absolutist. Okay, he wants zero government watchdogism, zero government regulation on big business. The federal government, guys, even if it's a Democrat president, having some sort of watchful eye on private industry is not socialism, guys. It's not. You have to remember something. We don't have a monarchy here, despite what the Democrats said last weekend in their ridiculous protests. The president is like the CEO of the United States of America. Trump is the CEO of the country. I mean, he's a president, the leader, if there ever was one. But he's an entrepreneur. And like when he negotiated that golden share with the what was it, Nippon Steel from Japan, with the Japanese trade deal. I mean, libertarians, they were flat. They were needed to go to get CPR. They were going to die. They couldn't believe that a supposed, in Rand Paul's words, not mine, a supposed Republican president is interfering with big business. Uh, basically negotiating with a private company, uh, a foreign private company operating on U.S. soil, that we get 10% of the profits, and basically we're like a board member, a shareholder. He was beside himself. Massey was too. They couldn't believe it. They were basically saying Trump is Bernie Sanders. That's not what it is at all, guys. Think about it. Nippon Steel is a Japanese steel manufacturer, and a big one. They're an industry giant globally. They own a baseball team. This is not some company that's, their balance sheet is $2 million you're talking about a multi-billion-dollar global industry, Nippon Steel from Japan. It's the number one steel and aluminum manufacturer in the Pacific Rim, one of them. So anyway, my point is, what the hell is wrong about that? They're operating in the United States. They're not, and there's no restrictions. Maybe they're bringing all Japanese people on their board. So why can't we get 10% of their profits? That's not going to be a lot of money, guys, because the idea is we're producing our own steel, and Nippon is just here as a supplement. Do you guys get it? They're basically high rent paying tenants now. Libertarians will never get it, guys. They can't see beyond words in a book. Strange. ML, go ahead.
Everything is good in Canada. Okay, just before I step down here, Gads. Yeah, good summary on the tariffs. They don't hit the lower income, lower income as much. I just grokked it for you, buddy, here. So you mentioned food. 85% of food consumed in the U.S. is domestic, no tariffs. So, the basics aren't hit as much as the bigger ticket items. So you're right on. I agree with you on that, Gads. So I'll just step down now as I watch
Thank you.
my home and native land going down in flames. At least on Twitter here today, X. I don't know, Bob, if you're in fact, I can't see who's still up here as speaker. My screen is screwed up. But I don't know about you guys, but I'm seeing all these tweets from all these Canadians, big accounts, cheering the fact that the trade talks are off. There's this one guy, he says, if Trump hates the ad, then it was a good ad. And then another person here, Adam, whatever, Trump hates this ad, so it's awesome. So Canadians basically cheering the breakdown of the negotiations, the trade deals. They're saying it's great that we finally get to break free from America. Good on you, man. Good on you. You sink your boat hit an iceberg and it's sink. You're the Titanic. You're going down and everyone's going, yay. Yeah, at least we get one last drink in before we're underwater. I don't know what it is, but anyway, it's very weird. They're self-destructing, and I'll just watch from over here on the sidelines. So have a good morning, everyone.
Well, you too, Mel. Yeah, it's strange. Maybe they're seeing, although you disagree with their viewpoint, and I understand why. Maybe they're acknowledging in the reverse way what I'm acknowledging, or it's not about what I think, it's what Trump thinks at this point. He doesn't need to make a deal. And he's just going to run the clock out. Maybe they're seeing the same thing. If you look at the last Oval Office meeting a couple of weeks ago when Carney was there, Trump put it nicely, and he articulated in a few sentences what I couldn't do in an hour. But he basically said is that, reporter was asking him nagging questions, and he had enough, and he said, look, the United States and Canada basically compete in the same markets on the same products too often. We intersect too often, whether it's the auto industry is a big one, steel and aluminum's a big one. So he's like, so you're not going to, there's no reason for me to make a deal because I want Ford and GM to make, F-350s and Sierras, those are pickup trucks, in Detroit. I don't want them made in Windsor, Ontario. It's just very simple, and people are making a very, very simple thing unsimple. They're trying to like intellectualize things and say, it's easy. You want no tariffs, Ford? Make it in Detroit. You want to make some supplemental profit if you can, fine. Import the vehicles from Canada, but those will be tariffed. So Trump is basically saying, Ford, it doesn't make any sense. Your 2026 F-150s. Why the fuck are you going to supplement your fleet with trucks from Canada that you've committed to when a guy walks in on February 1st, 2026, and he's going to pay $45,000 for a base model F-150, no bells and whistles. Then his buddy comes in on March 1st, and he's buying one that was made in Ontario, and that one is closer to 50 grand. It's crazy, guy. First of all, it's crazy for Ford, and it's crazy for the consumer. It doesn't make any sense. That's the problem, is we intersect on certain things. Steel and aluminum and the auto are the two big ones. And we're catching up in oil, guys. We might not have as much crude oil as our fingertips, but you got to remember the oil we get from Canada, guys, is not readily usable. It has to be processed. And that's where Texas and Louisiana come in. Okay, it gets sent down by a pipe down to us, and we process it so it could be used for other things. The stuff is heavy that comes in from Canada. We can't like take that and say, here, heat your home with it. Do you
I can
understand?
clarify you on that if you want.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I think I sent that to you before. I looked into it, and this heavy, nasty crude from Alberta it only goes to 4 refineries out of 50 in the US. 2 refineries in the Houston area and 2 in Illinois. And that crude goes there because those refineries are set up to handle the heavier, nastier oil from Canada. So there's only 4 refineries out of 50 using Canadian crude.
Yeah, and if you recall that was during the great debates of February, the 4 nations. That's where hockey intersected with tariffs. I had a lot of fun in those spaces, and there was the assurance from people from where ML and Bob are from that Trump is going to rue the day that he would even consider tariffing crude oil, which I think is protected under the USMC. It's protected, period, right now. There is no additional fee for energy from Canada for now. I mean, I don't think he is going to, but and that's not the case. I would encourage everybody from the oil patch to follow Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum's X account, because seemingly every week they're finding more areas that are ready, well, shovel ready, ready to drill, ready to process, ready to inject stuff in the ground offshore to frack every day. And you have to think about all the foolish presidents, not just Biden, but all of them, that allowed this. I mean, it's criminal that we weren't utilizing our own natural resources in the United States. How can you say the United States has no oil when we have Texas and Alaska? I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. How people think that we need like Venezuelan shit, or I don't get it. I don't understand a lot of people, guys, and it's becoming abundantly clear we largely live in a world of fucking idiots on both sides mostly on our side of the political. The left is mentally deranged. The right, it's all self-inflicted stupidity because they don't want to learn anything. I hate it, guys. I hate all of it. It's very, very frustrating to have a decent conversation about commodities with Republicans because they don't know anything about it. Even people from Texas, they know very little about it. They know how to extract it and how to process it, but then they don't understand how it affects the global market. Very strange.
Well, Gads,
Oh,
keep in mind that the United States doubles their money of the 4.3 million barrels of oil that we export there daily. And President Trump wants to keep energy prices low. So, and we're pushing to up that to 10 million barrels a day, and we're prepared to do that. So it's a win-win, right, for the people of Canada and for the people of the United States of America. So I don't think President Trump is going to do anything with regard to the energy that comes out of Alberta because it's profitable. You guys double your money. So if you're doubling your money at 4.3 million barrels a day, you're going to double your money at 10 million barrels a day, and everybody can live with that. I know that the Western Canadian Standard price is a little bit lower, but we can still live with that and still come up and make a good deal. And I know Alberta is prepared to negotiate a great trade deal that way.
yeah, and I think when that gets revised, the USMCA, Bob, that oil will not. I don't feel the same about hardwood and softwood. But I do think oil is going to be the one thing. I think he wants to buy more of it, but he wants to kind of top off the tank, if you will, with what we get from Alberta. I think he really wants to and all these things I'm talking about with Doug Burgum and the Interior Department. This is not stuff we're going to see come to fruition, and it takes many, many years to get established. You're going to see small victories, but within 20 or 30 years, I think you'd like to see the United States supplementing our oil usage with foreign import instead of relying on it, right? And remember, Biden used about 30% of our I just had a call come in. Sorry, guys. We'll wrap this up soon, but not before TR gets to speak. Thanks, Bob. Go ahead, TR. What's up?
Thanks, Gads, and welcome to the total destruction of Canada. You had mentioned about the tariffs and, building these Ford pickup trucks in Detroit rather than Canada. It goes beyond just the tariffs because Carney is full well intentioned of hitting industry in Canada with a huge carbon tax. We have not removed the EV mandates. These car companies don't want to produce these EVs because there's no market. They're losing billions of dollars. Trump has removed the EV mandate in the United States and Canada has not. We got Doug Ford, who sent out that stupid ad, which, triggered Trump to end all negotiations. But I think those negotiations were dead in the water to begin with before that ad. And Doug Ford, if you remember, he wanted to cut off power to a few of the eastern states when the tariffs were first announced. The guy's a lunatic. If he thinks we can survive without the United States, they're all nut cases. We have just spent billions of dollars in over 10 years building the Gordie Howe Bridge between Windsor and Detroit to handle the amount of trade that is currently, I don't know, it's $100 billion a year in trade. That's all going to be gone by the wayside. There's another wasted billions of dollars, just like these battery plants we're building in Ontario that are going to sit empty. Stellantis via Chrysler's makes their minivan in Windsor, Ontario. At the height, they were running 3 shifts a day. And if that picks up and leaves, which I'm sure it will by the time Carney adds the carbon tax to everything, and now the tariffs. I mean, Windsor will be a ghost town, and thanks to these stupid politicians that weren't the first people in Washington making a deal with Trump when it was announced. So we're going to move from a traditional trading relationship with the United States to a generational spending that's going to completely bankrupt our country. Hard times, totalitarianism, it's all coming our way. So I don't know. Say goodbye to Canada.
Well, let the record show, TR, that the opportunity was there, and it's probably still on the table. But like I said, what I would say is a lot of people think this is posturing, like Trump's just trying to freak them out up north. He's already done that, guys. He's been doing that since Trudeau went to Mar-a-Lago in February. He's been fucking with them for 6 months now, 7 months. So I don't think that that's what this is. A lot of people think that Trump and Carney are like they sit on a couch and watch hockey together. No. One is a cutthroat businessman and the other's a globalist businessman. They're adversaries by nature, not just on paper, but in practice too. You see what I'm saying? And right now, there's no reason for Trump to make a deal with Canada or Mexico. I keep throwing Mexico in there because they're still involved in this. Because, I mean, the guy's making fucking $60 billion a month. And what else do you want from him? Oh, 65 billion. Okay, well, guys, we're talking about an infinite amount of money, monopoly money at this point. Like, I'm not going to get in a conversation with people or a debate about, well, he should be getting 70 billion a month. Like, this is crazy, guys. We went from zero basically to at the end of this year, maybe a fucking $1 trillion all in. Maybe. Still got 2 months left.
Hey,
So
Gad, you mentioned Mexico.
yeah.
I'm in Mexico. I was on the city bus yesterday, and a Mexican had a T-shirt on that said "Fuck Trump," and if you like Trump, fuck you too. This is a Mexican wearing a shirt like that. I was shocked.
Well, I'm not shocked, but just Give me his address so I can do a trace, and I'll make sure ICE deports his relatives from my country. Because I'm sure he's got anybody who would have a shirt like that, TR. I guarantee you, he's got half his fucking family living in San Diego.
Yeah, I
So
guess you're
fuck,
right.
so fuck him. By the way, I like the sombrero. I got rid of mine. This is my Halloween pick, thanks to Nasty J. But although Gemini says I look like Dracula in it, so we'll see what happens. But forced humor there, right? But the main takeaway, guys, as we wrap this up, is that you have to look at the two things can be true at the same time. And I think a lot of people are having a very, very hard time with this, is that you can have a good Main Street and you can have a profitable Wall Street too. Guys, it doesn't work. Like, for example, you can't have a strong
That was a compliment, by the way.
what?
You look like
What's,
Dracula. That wasn't an insult.
I know. I'm just messing with you because I saw you down there. I didn't. I
Silly.
know it's early where you are. That's your
I
3
know.
hour. I'm
I
surprised you're
almost was
even up.
falling asleep because I'm off today. But that was
You're off.
not forced humor, and that was a compliment, you silly.
I know. I
We'll
saw you
take
down
it
there.
as
I had to
one.
take the opportunity. Low hanging fruit, right?
Okay, all right.
So,
Please continue.
yes. Good morning to you out in Arizona. Thank you for popping in, Gemini, popping up. But see, the thing is, guys, again, in the 1980s, I mean, look at that. Remember that Michael Douglas movie, Wall Street? Think about the excess of the 1980s. And again, there was a stock market disaster in 1987 before Reagan went out. The issue in the 80s was just Wall Street was making out, like in abundance. Okay. Main Street was doing okay, but at the end of the decade, we were more or less outsourcing all of our, or it had begun, like the manufacturing in the decline of the Midwest and what have you, begun in like 1989. Okay. In order for this to work, what Trump is doing is we have to have both. What you have to have the, tech stocks doing well, and all, the crypto boys have to make their money. The hedge fund guys have to, Jamie Dimon's got to be bullish on everything. And you can also have a guy like me doing well. All of us need to be doing well. Can't be one or the other. And sorry if I'm breaking up a little bit. I just went under a bridge here. So, no, there's no homeless people here. This isn't Chicago. So, believe it or not, there's a bridge with no people sleeping under it in the Northeast. I just went under it. So, uh, that's where we're at, guys. So I hope this like paints a clear picture for everybody of where we're going. And with the core inflation report being optimal today, uh, I mean, the haters are really running out of excuses at this point. You can't do this, guy. You can't have a robust economy like we're having, guys, if Rand Paul's president. Okay, so it's okay to call yourself a non-conservative. I am a non-conservative. I'm an economic populist, like MAGA was saying, the financial guy. I'm a fair market guy. That doesn't mean I'm a Democrat. It certainly doesn't mean I'm a socialist. But you got to remember, the whole fair market concept came out of, it was really the foundation of the Republican Party in for 30 years in the late 19th century and early 20th century. We were the original. No, this was not a Democrat New Deal FDR thing. This was again, William McKinley and Theodore Roosevelt, back-to-back presidents. You had, let's see, Roosevelt was there 8 or 9 years. You had basically 15 years, two presidents that were used all of their administrations to push this economic policy on the United States. And another thing too is, while it made more sense then, as we didn't have the Federal Reserve until 1914 or whatever. So really, we needed tariffs then to raise revenue for the United States. That was the primary reason. People, there was no income tax or anything like that. So that was how we made money. I see another parallel, guys, to the 1890s, as I've said this before. But you have a situation in which we were on top of the world after the Spanish-American War. And what I mean by that is we had decimated the Spanish monarchy and really kicked their ass in that war. And we had picked up Puerto Rico, Guam, the Philippines, the U.S. Virgin Islands, parts of what American Samoa. So we had all this Caribbean land now and Pacific land from the Spanish monarchy we got. We had all this industry where Europe was somewhat declining outside of naval vessels manufacturing. And that's all of them. Germany, Britain, they were all declined. Those empires were starting to decline before World War I. They were too big and unmanageable, whereas the United States was still really small. It's similar to what's going on now. That's why you can't take your eyes off of Greenland. And I do think that eventually that will be a U.S. territory, never a state, but a U.S. territory because of its strategic importance. Just like Puerto Rico was our strategic importance in the Caribbean, right? So, yes, I do eventually think that Greenland will be a territory with all the same perks and privileges as Puerto Rico, probably within 5 years. And that's going to be Trump's legacy, is that he expanded the United States in a very critical area in the Arctic. So Greenland is part of North America, guys. Look at a map. It's closer to New York than it is Europe. So we'll see. They're working out some things. They're changing their government up. They have a center-right populist party there now that votes in the Danish parliament. So we'll see what happens. They're a couple of years away. They're crawling, and we need them to walk. But they will. Make no mistake, guys. They're not going to get a better deal than what Trump can offer them and the United States can offer them. We'll see what happens. Canada, I don't know. Maybe that just becomes an economic protector to the United States. I mean, you've heard from the speakers up there. The decline is on, guys. It's not. We're on the precipice. It's the decline of Canada it's a clear and present danger right now. And I don't know, what the future of that country is, but I don't think it's going to be a state. I think it's going to be a vast country that we're going to have to protect. And that's going to come at a price. And I think the people up there will not like the price, the economic price. And it's going to be rough. But I mean, the alternative, guys, is China. So, I mean, you can either, you could either look at that future or, look at aligning with a populist America that's expanding rapidly. And we'll see what happens. I got time for a few more speakers if you want. Janet, do you have anything to add as co-host with your witch's hat on?
No, I'm riding my broomstick around looking for information, but haven't found any more. All I want is people to realize that we just have to be patient and let Trump do his magic. He's been doing it. I just hear so much griping because they expect everything to happen right now, when they waited all this time through Obama's 2 terms and Biden. I mean, be a little more patient and stop acting like you're in kindergarten. That's all I have to add.
Yeah, exactly. I'm happy we moved on from arrests and we're talking about other things. Well, because I got about 15 minutes here. I seem to hit a bit of traffic. And I'm not going anywhere in a hurry. Let me talk to you guys about this because let's get out of the economy for a second. Let's close it up with something a little bit different. Even if you're not a sports fan, you heard about the NBA yesterday and that whole betting scandal. And that is a scandal. Make no mistake, guys. And it is not a situation in which Trump is targeting Remember, it's the NBA, so he's not targeting black people like is being reported by the Democrats. Or the FBI's in the business of investigations, targeting criminals, and making arrests, guys. Okay, the NBA is corrupt and it's rotten to the core. It's an organized crime syndicate, guys. The NBA. That is not just with gambling, with many things. Adam Silver, who is the commissioner of the NBA, runs the org. I mean, he's basically a Jewish mob boss at this point. And that scandal is not going to end well for the NBA at all. And I would just ask you, I know many of you, I'm a sports fanatic. Many of you are not. I respect that. But this has implications, guys, that, it's most of you don't know who Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, or Damon Jones are. Well, I know a little bit about them because they're all drafted by the Boston Celtics at one point. Chauncey Billups also played for the Pistons in the early 2000s. While they were not household names like LeBron James or Dwayne Wade, you notice how everybody, even Shaq, who does commentary now, is very, very, everybody was really quiet about that yesterday on pregame shows and NBA broadcasts and all that. The season's just starting. So there's a big name that's going to be in that mix. I don't know who it's going to be. It's not going to be LeBron. I know we all hate him, but he's kind of his own entity. He doesn't need gambling to make, he fucks people out of money other ways with endorsements. He doesn't need to be involved in petty gambling. He's a billionaire. So these guys getting involved too, they're what we, role players, six men. These are not star. Chauncey Billups is a coach now, but he was not a star player. He was, when he was playing, neither was Rozier or Damon Jones. So, but they all have connections to the Boston Celtics. They were all drafted by the Celtics. I think Damon Jones won a championship with LeBron James in Cleveland, I believe. I can't remember, but role players. And one's a head coach, Chauncey Billups. So yeah, there's more to come on that. So keep that on your radar. The other thing would be, it's another thing we could talk about briefly. Well, that's another big story. There's no other really big story to talk about at this point. But I would just ask all of you to keep an open mind and understand what Trump is trying to do is get rid of the worst of the worst. So the mere fact he's arresting these NBA coaches and former players there is some serious criminal activity going on in the NBA regarding gambling. Yes, Janet, then back to Gunny.
Well, I just wanted to add, just everybody pay attention to links between the NBA, maybe NFL, and the poker tournaments and things like that. That's all being brought out, that they were all involved in like racketeering and all kinds of stuff. See if there's any links to P. Diddy parties, and then let me know. Thank you.
Yeah, makes sense to me. 6 degrees of separation. Gunny, go ahead.
Okay, I wasn't going to talk about P. Diddy. Thank you, Janet, for saying it. But no, as far as what she was just saying, I was going to concur. Our sports, our professional sports, are just bad. And it doesn't matter what sport you're a fan of, whether it's baseball, hockey, football, basketball. The basketball players just got, the out the gate shoes. It's going to continue. It's going to continue. And unless they stop it, unless the mafia comes out and is like, we're sorry, President Trump, we'll go back to doing other shit. When crime crosses into the public atmosphere in such a blatant criminal way and gets completely ignored, that's as much as our fault as number one, Americans, number two, our government, our law enforcement, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, the fault is on the people that did it. The fault is on the mafia that supported it, but the fault is also on us because we were just happy to be like, go Chauncey, go. I mean, we never even thought about what it was he was doing or what it was anybody else could be doing. So just keep your big boy pants on because it's going to get wild.
And Gunny, on that note, if I could pivot, basketball pivot into a different sport, because what you brought up, you guys might have heard like there's a core group of us on here who talk about sports a lot, like Matt, Chris, and every other people, Nasty, Gemini, but talk about we have football spaces because it's football season, and I am a assistant football coach, so it's a big part of my life. But I have to tell you, I honestly believe that the Kansas City Chiefs exposed the scripted element of the NFL with their regular season last year. So that's where Patrick Mahomes that's who he plays for. Even if you are not a regular NFL watcher, you could not watch your like regular nightly news broadcast and not see the refs basically making it so Patrick Mahomes couldn't be touched, right? Couldn't be sacked. And every call, they'd be holding in the back, all this other shit. That was really the big exposure. The Kansas City Chiefs regular seasons games last year. I mean, you had people like not Howie Long, but on the national pregame shows, maybe it was Gronk. But you had people talking about like there is something going on with the Kansas City Chiefs and the officials. And if for those of you who aren't keeping score, the Kansas City Chiefs have won 3 Super Bowls and they've played in 4 in just the last 7 years. So they're basically winning the AFC every year. Okay? Dominating the league. Dominating the AFC. So I do honestly believe what happened because last year's Super Bowl was a rematch that the Eagles won, by the way. Go Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. I hate them, but I hate Kansas City even more. And you had the whole situation where I do believe the script had to be flipped because the Kansas City Chiefs were exposing the fact that their games were being rigged by the officials. Because they found a formula 20 years ago that worked with Tom Brady was winning those Super Bowls on his own, with a killer defense and just being the best quarterback of all time. And the NFL lost that when Brady retired 5 or 6 years ago. And they had to replace it with Patrick Mahomes. But Mahomes doesn't have Brady's talent. And he can't win those Super Bowls in the fashion that Brady and Bill Belichick and the Patriots did 20 years ago. Do you see what I'm saying? So that was my big exposure. And even people who didn't watch sports. Like I'd be watching a football game and people that know nothing about the game. They don't know the difference between a pigskin and a foreskin. I'm talking that level of not knowing football. You like that one, Janet, huh? And Michelle, I like it. See, I'm making you laugh. I'm keeping you on your toes. But people don't know shit about football, and they're like, "This is rigged." How is that holding? The guy, the defensive back was nowhere near that wide receiver. It's like he was in a different state, and that yellow flag came in. Another penalty, all to Patrick Mahomes' benefit. So I think what happened was Roger Goodell got spooked, and he's like, "Listen, we got to keep the game tight, but fill in the win. I can't give Kansas City another Super Bowl. People hate Taylor Swift. She's sitting there. People are onto the officiating. That's my opinion. I don't know if is Nasty still in here. I don't know if he wants to talk about that or somebody. I don't think Chris is in here, but that's just or any of you. That's my opinion, guys. Go back on YouTube and look at those games. Yeah, Gunny.
I want to talk about the opposite of that. Look at Detroit. Look what the fuck happened to Detroit. For how many decades? It was like, oh, you won a game. Good job. And you watch the games over and over and over and over, and you see them get screwed every single game because they were the usury bowl to make somebody else look good. It was bullshit.
Well, don't look now. The Lions might be in the Super Bowl this year. I think. I kind of hope they are. I want to see a Buffalo Detroit Super Bowl. If I can't get a New England, I want to get a New England Washington one or a New England Chicago one to prove that our quarterback's better than those other two guys. So I already know that, but I want the world to know it. So, or I would like to see the Patriots and the Giants. Just so Nasty and I could bet some big money, and one of us is going to be a very rich man. One of us is not going to be after that Super Bowl. We'll see what happens. Yeah, Janet, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add how wonderful it's going to be in a few years from now when football is won by people who actually work hard to win. And you have young American football players and baseball players and basketball players that get to join the leagues and play simply because they have the skills. What's sad is basically what we're seeing unfold is DEI hires of all these players that got put in simply because they would bend over and take it up the butt by anybody who told them to fix a deal, to fall down, to hit somebody in the face, to do whatever so that they could get the calls they needed so that the numbers would be good in Las Vegas. And I'm not even into sports. I'm just watching this just from the facts. And it's sad to see that all these young people growing up with wide eyes, wanting to be a great star one day and working their ass off, especially in the girls' teams. And because somebody owned them, they were allowed men to be in their teams, or they allowed certain people to play at the Super Bowl just because they're woke and you're going to do what we tell you because we're calling the shots. It's going to be nice to be able to see that unfold and actually see people win because they have skills. That's what I'm going to say. Maybe then I'll start being interested in sports because it's not corrupt. But that's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
No, it's a lot of people have been saying that. We'll see what happens. But again, Nasty's up here. I do think the exposure was the Kansas City Chiefs, at least for the NFL. I watch more football than I do basketball, but at least for the NFL, even an idiot would see that the Chiefs were getting all the call. I mean, it was so egregious last year. So egregious. Go ahead if you want to. I see I popped up here. Go ahead, man.
What's going on, people? Just woke up getting Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah, I think professional sports has been ruined by it. Once they legalize gambling, that was it. Like now, anything can be manipulated or bet on. Like anything that one player has an effect on. Like if somebody comes up to bat in baseball and tells his family, "Hey, I'm going to strike out 3 times today," so bet the under. Player strikes out 3 times, you don't know that he did it on purpose, but some of his family could be at home collecting whatever. So if it's a sure bet, people can bet more money and just can bet $10,000 when something come away with 100,000 or $1,000,000. It's just completely destroys sports. You can tell now looking at it. Even not even just the Chiefs, everything like the NBA. For, back in the day, like in the 80s and 90s, like the star players of teams, they would always get their yards. Like the running back would get his 80, 100 yards. The quarterback would get his 250, 300 yards. Now you see quarterbacks coming up with 125 yards, or a great running back getting like 20 yards, like Derrick Henry or Saquon or somebody. It's fixed. When Jalen, what is his name? Jalen Hurts goes down and does four tush pushes in a row against the Giants, instead of giving it to Saquon, who everybody was the most bet touchdown prop of the day. You can tell it's ridiculous, but I still bet because I win sometimes. You're gonna win sometimes. Probably not millions, but if you play it right, you can win just betting below the overs or betting below the predicted averages. But it's ridiculous. Like last night, I bet on I had a parlay with like Jokic. Yeah, an NBA one because they gave me $10 free bet. So I put like Jokic and a bunch of other players. They all hit, and Jokic had under his points, which he never hardly does. He averages like 30 something. So last night he had like less than 25 points. I was like, come on. So they know they probably got AI say to tally up all the bets and see what's the most bet line or prop, and just they'll eliminate that. Especially like these Thursday night games, like those things will be stinkers for a reason, because people will put in a parlay with the first game of the week. The standalone games, they can control those things in real time. So that'll bust up every parlay if I picked who played last week. I'm not sure. But
What, on Thursday night?
yeah.
Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Last night, the Chargers and the Vikings. I like that game. I watched all of it last night.
Yeah, and look at Wentz. Like, look, that's horrible. Like Richard Jefferson's one of the most popular receivers. Like, look what he had last night. Nothing. He's sick of that shit. But I don't know. I don't know these people. I don't know. They signed an NDA or what, but they can't tell. And they say, "Hey, we're paying you $40 million a year. Shut the hell up and just
That
play."
might be with him. He's the highest. Is he the highest paid or Jamar Chase in the league?
One of them, they're close. They're all in like the 30-something million range. But yeah, like I know these players know, man. Even if they're not being directly told, it's just the quarterback not throwing to me for some fucking reason. But I don't know. It's crazy, man. America's got it bad.
But what'd you think about last year? I know we all hate the Chiefs, but didn't you think last year, like there had to be somebody Nasty, that doesn't know shit about football that watched the Chiefs game, and they saw that Mahomes was like the golden boy.
Yeah,
I think Goodell changed the script in the Super Bowl. He said, "Okay, we'll have Jalen Hurts win one."
yeah, he had to, because they were setting it up with Taylor Swift being at every damn game, getting the camera flashed on her every 5 seconds. Like they were setting it up for that, and people just said, "Fuck." I was surprised Philly won. Like I hate Philly more than anybody, and I wanted them to beat fucking Kansas
Me
City,
too.
dude. That's like the team I most hate in the world, and I wanted them to beat Kansas City. But it's crazy.
Nasty's a Giants fan from Brooklyn, so he hates the rivalry between the Giants and the Eagles guys is like as bad as the Bruins and Canadiens in hockey. It might even be worse.
It's not so much the teams; it's the fans. Like the fucking Philadelphia people are disgusting people, man. The fans, like, it's not so much the players.
That's what we call it, the Illadelph.
Yep, Philadelphia, we call it.
Yeah, Saquon, and Saquon went there. Yep. Well, I am happy that the Eagles won, and I was rooting for them because everybody hated, and liberal people hate the Kansas City Chiefs because the owners are MAGA, and the kicker Harrison Butker, which is really, really fucked up. This whole thing is, you've got Taylor Swift at a game where Harrison Butker is like plays golf with the Trump sons, and he's like Mr. Born Again Christian and Mr. MAGA, and he's on the Presidential Health and Fitness Council thing with like Triple H and Bryson DeChambeau. And yet you've got like the most MAGA athlete in professional sports, Harrison Butker. And then you've got Taylor Swift. Like the whole thing in Kansas City is just rotten. Like it doesn't make sense. The owners are billionaire Republican donors, the Hunt family. None of this made sense. And Roger Goodell, he has this thing called in case of emergency, break glass, and he did it. And he told the officiating crew, Philly is winning this game. I can't take the fallout. Everybody's bitching about the Chiefs, and everybody hates Patrick Mahomes because he's a goofy looking fucking guy. I mean, Tom Brady is central casting, okay? Even the Manning brothers, they're central casting. Patrick Mahomes is a goofy looking guy with curly hair that is knock-kneed, which is very odd for a quarterback. You know, when he walks, his knees are together. That's not good as in sports, right? It can lead to a lot of injuries. He runs like a goof. He has a really odd hillbilly accent, and he's got Gunny, you'll be the last speaker. I'll go to you next. Mahomes has a real big internal problem where his father, as I've said to many of you, a former baseball player in the 90s, he was a pitcher in the Pat Mahomes Sr., is probably one of America's most notorious drunk driver, which none of you know, and that he's gotten 3 DWIs in the state of Texas, and he could basically never drive again, never be insured for a vehicle again. So he's got some skeleton. He's got a father who's a complete fuck up, and he's very lucky he didn't kill anybody, thank God, with his drunk driving. It's in I mean, how do you get 3 DWIs in the state of Texas and even keep your license after the second one? Has nothing to do with the fact his son is the star quarterback. I'm sure it's got nothing to do with that. No. Texas, they don't fuck around, guys. You can be an illegal alien and get 3 DWIs in New York. In Texas, guys, where Patrick Mahomes is from, you can't have that kind of driving record and expect Greg Abbott to have the Texas DMV give you a license. So this whole thing is just so fucked up in Kansas City. It's like, imagine the most corrupt third world country in the world, like Somalia. That's fucking the Kansas City Chiefs and all the theatrics that go with them. Yes, Gunny. Thanks for waiting. You can tell I
Oh,
don't like Kansas City.
no problem. I just wanted to remind everyone after what Janet said about someday our kids will be able to go and play without corruption. Our kids are being invoked into corruption as we speak because they took the rules away. So now our kids are getting paid by the same people that are trying to train them to go dirty. So the only way to do it is to fix the system, and the only way to do that is just to fucking arrest everyone.
Right. I do think there's going to be one big. If Cash Patel has the balls, I think he might have. Then there's going to be a big arrest in the NBA. Like that, Chauncey Billups is 50 years old. That dude's not going to jail for the rest of his life. He's not going down alone. So there's going to be a big. He'll probably be in witness protection his entire life. But and look at the names that were implicated, guys. You had basically the Italian mob. Okay, you had Adam Silver in the NBA. That's basically the Jewish mob, like Bernie Madoff and all those New York Jewish banksters. And then you had, the black players, who some of them think that they're gangsters and all that. I mean, this was a big dragnet by the FBI, and it's tying together everything in the New York betting market in Vegas. I'm telling you guys, this is not going to end well for the NBA. And people will go to jail. Not everybody's going to get a plea bargain deal. There's too much to expose here. Go ahead, Janet. Guys,
I
it was
just
a great
wanted to
space.
add,
After Janet goes, she'll be the last speaker.
I
Go
just
ahead,
wanted
Seth.
to say one thing. When you are active with your kids in school with their sports or whatever they choose, band, it doesn't matter, a cheerleader, your child learns from you about how to be fair and to be respectful for others. It's time for us to put our hands on our children again and start backing them and teaching them right and wrong for school. And that they can be a winner instead of getting a job or a football team place or a cheerleading spot because of your skin color or whether you have a penis or a vagina. It shouldn't matter. You should teach your kids to be respectful and to learn the sport and to be able to get it because they're good at it. That's up to
Janet.
the parents. Yes.
Janet, what if you're Chase and you don't have a penis or a vagina?
Well, I'm sorry. His parents did the best they could with what they had to work with.
Yeah, which wasn't much. But you're right. Thank you. Thank you for co-hosting today. I see Summer came up in the extra innings here. So go ahead, Summer. You'll be the
Summer.
last speaker.
Wait,
My favorite season.
was Chase in Texas when he got those 3 DUIs?
Yeah, I think.
Oh,
Chase was the fall guy for Pat Mahomes Sr. I honestly believe that. That could be. Chase was the fall guy. Chase doesn't have a license, by the way. That's why he's always at home. Summer, go ahead, dear.
Oh, I'm driving, so I thought I'd see if there was a space going, and you're still going. But I do have a question for Gunny. When I was listening earlier, you were talking about jobs, and my husband's a senior recruiter, and his big thing right now is that there are way too many people and not enough jobs, and he's just like, one job gets like 300 applications. That has never happened before. Do you have a source for what you were stating earlier about the job market? Because I would love to look at that, because I hear every day, I hear the opposite, the opposite. And even my daughters who were late looking for jobs and stuff said the same thing, like they're up against like 150 other applicants for one like admin position right now. So I was just curious. I know it's probably totally off topic. That was an hour ago.
No, not at all. I've been looking all morning for it. I saw it in a video. I saw the actual documentation on like the website for the government, and I can't find it. So I do apologize. But what I can say is that you're in a state where there's a lot of people. Everybody's looking for jobs. There's good jobs coming in, but I will say that there's better companies on their way, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll keep looking. If I find it, I will send it to you. But I don't speak unless I'm certain, and I'm certain I saw it. I just can't remember the exact numbers of which is higher, the unemployment rate or the jobs available. But it wasn't by much.
Yeah.
It was by, like I said, a couple 100,000, and both numbers were in the matching millions.
Well, I'll tell you this. Eric works for a
Yeah.
huge, big tech company, and his big thing are the visas because most of the tech jobs right now, obviously we know are in India, and like it's just sourced out. And so he's been a big fighter of trying to get, especially, the jobs that, these millennials could have. But, oh, gotta exit right. But anyways, I was just curious because I would love to show that to him. So when you find it, just toss it my way. I'd be interested in reading that.
Yes, ma'am.
Sweet. You guys have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy football over the next 2 days. Make sure you hit those parlays so you can be like Nasty J, the money man. And what did we learn? We learned that Chase is the fall guy for Pat Mahomes Sr. and his Dewey's in Texas. So that's why Chase doesn't have a license now. So, and he's got money from Patrick Mahomes for being the fall guy. That's why he's on Spaces all day. He doesn't have to work. Right, Nasty? That's
31% profit margin.
yeah. Says the guy.
Wait, what did I miss with Chase? Chase got his license revoked?
Oh, he hasn't driven in years.
Whoa, I
Look up.
think we know why.
Well, you're in Texas. You're in Texas. Look at Pat Mahomes Sr. You look up his record at the DMV in Dallas, Fort Worth. Find out when he got his last Dewey was, and that's the last time Chase drove. So if it was like 2013, Chase was the fall guy for Patrick Mahomes, his father. So he's still
Well,
driving with
that
3
guy's a
Deweys.
degenerate, and
Oh,
that guy's a total. So Chase, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Whoa. Oh, Chris, we'll get Chris in here quickly, guys. I'm headed. I'm on the coast now, so I hope the signal holds. I'm not going to nuke the space. If it drops, it drops. Go ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say, what state should we live in? Because doesn't he have 3 houses? Didn't he say that yesterday as well? So where
Yes,
does he have his license revoked? And is it in all 3 states he has a house, or is it just one?
Florida. He can't drive there. I don't know about Arizona. He's lived in Florida, either Georgia or Texas, and Arizona, and Minnesota. He grew up in Minnesota, so he probably can't drive there either. So,
Well, he's a Vikings fan and doesn't know anyone on the team.
right, he doesn't even know who Justin Jefferson is.
Except the male cheerleaders. He's very familiar with that.
Well, it's his brother. That's why.
Exactly. He knows. Yeah. For those of you that don't know, the Vikings, I think, were the first team that have a male cheerleader. Many teams do, but I think they were the first. Maybe that's why Chase is a Vikings fan. And don't forget, Michael Jackson went over to his house to use the bathroom in 1984 when he lived in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Don't forget that on the Thriller tour. So. When Michael Jackson was playing the old Metrodome where the Twins used to play during the Thriller tour, I guess he had to go to the bathroom and he just happened to be driving by Chase's house. So can't believe some of you believe this shit. I really can't. But That's him for you. Anyway, you guys have a great weekend and good conversation. I'm going to attempt to be productive at work today, but I really do not feel like doing anything today. So take care. Appreciate you all. Thanks, Janet.
You're welcome.
Oh, hi, Janet.
Hello. Good morning.
If you wear nice clothes, people think you're showing off. If you wear simple clothes, people think you're poor. If you speak your mind, you're rude. If you stay quiet, then you're a coward. If you're successful, then you're arrogant. And if you're struggling, then you're lazy. You see, no matter what you do in life, people will always have something to say. So ignore people and their opinions. Because so long as your God is pleased with you, who cares what people think?
He knows that this is much bigger than him. This is about the American people. They have no idea what they have unleashed. He was ready to go face the cameras and come out swinging.
What will future Americans say we did in our brief time here on Earth? It will be defined by your vision, your perseverance, and your grit. Nothing will sway us, nothing will slow us, and no one will ever stop us. We are Americans. Ambition is our heritage. Greatness is our birthright. And the future belongs to us.